A short update on the price of Bitcoin. What is interesting these days is that we had this drop in price because of the Tether FUD, and it surprisingly matched the bearish divergence with RSI when we had these higher highs on the daily time frame for the price and lower highs on RSI. And moreover, we had the 9 green candle on TD sequential just before the drop, so we have actually two signals showing that we are about to go down, and just surprisingly at the same time we have the news which made these things to happen. And as you know, some people say that don't show me the news, show me the charts, and I will tell you what the news are. So pretty interesting thing. Now if we'll go to the weekly time frame, then you'll see that RSI is actually still pretty neutral, or at least it is higher than this sort of middle line which we drew a few weeks ago when the RSI went above that after the long period of bear market, and now we are still actually quite high, and RSI doesn't want to test it, it seems like. In fact, if you look at the weekly time frame, that you will see that after this huge rise which we had in the beginning of April, these 4 weeks, although we had like long shadows for the candles, they don't seem to be something really huge. The average price is still on the same level, so it's pretty much a sideways price action. And in fact, we had this sort of two corrections. If you'll switch to the daily chart, you'll see that, and those daily corrections being still within the sideways price action led the indicators to call off, and it's actually pretty nice and organic move for the price of Bitcoin, supporting the general bullish trend of the current condition of the market. What I was going to show you on the daily time frame is this historical volatility percentile indicator, and now we are quite high, at least this yellow zone of this indicator, and we were in the same zone when the price dropped from $6,000 to $3,000. But what is interesting is that if you'll compare it with 2015 year, when we had the bottom with a quite high value of this indicator, then we had a low volatility for a while. Actually, the rise was also preceded by the period with the low volatility. So after that low volatility period, then rise to the yellow level, then drop again, and then we had a huge price rise which was reflected by this huge volatility jump. And if you'll compare it to the current situation, so before the drop, we had a period with low volatility right like this, just similar to that one. And then we had the rise of volatility, so it's similar to this one. And then it dropped again, so again, like here, it dropped. Then we have this yellow period, which is here. And now we are seemingly going sideways. And if it will continue to do that, then we will see similar drop as here of the volatility, going pretty much low. Of course, not necessarily to be exactly the same, but still we will cool off this indicator, and then the next rise may be really strong like that. And basically it happened when the price left the accumulation period and we were starting to go constantly upwards, of course with some corrections, but still the trend became pretty bullish. So in this scenario, we should wait for the volatility going low, and if the price going like sideways, and then expect a new rise of the volatility. So as soon as we'll start to go up, then we may expect that this new move would be really strong. Of course, it doesn't mean that the price move would be to the upside. It's just the indication of the huge price move. But again, assuming that here it was the accumulation period of the market cycle, and then we left it going upwards, and this pretty much the same may happen here. So here is the accumulation period. We are seemingly leaving this period, going to the bull territory, so it's more likely to see the huge rise of the price instead of the dump of the prices we used to see in the bear market. Moreover, if you remember a couple of videos ago, I showed you these two channels, the descending channel for the bear market and ascending channel for the bull market, and how beautifully we left this descending channel with this price rise, and now we're seemingly in the rising trend within this support and resistance lines. But actually, if you'll draw this bullish trend line a little bit different, like shifting this to the actual drop in price around here, then you would see that we are below this line and we are about to test it, or actually the price is going sort of in a parallel to this line. And usually this situation is happening when the price is about to break it at some point, indicating that the bulls are stronger. And again, here we have this $6,000 resistance, which of course is strong, but it should be tested. And if you look at the moving averages, then first thing which you would see that for the daily moving average, the price is higher than all of them, like the most important ones, 50, 100, 200 days moving averages. And again, remember that we have this golden cross some time ago, and potentially we will see one more golden cross around here. So that would be one more strong buy signal. But in addition to that, in the weekly time frame, you would see that the price is actually very close to the 50 weeks moving average. It was testing that several times, like almost here, and we actually went above that for a while, which usually means that again the several attempts of breaking it upwards would lead to final breakout. It just needs some time. And if you'll compare it to 2015 year, that is again a very similar case to the point when we were moving to the bullish territory when the price intersect this 50 weeks moving average. But together with the daily moving averages, you will see that here we're actually below this 50 weeks moving average, and daily moving averages are somewhere around here. So it means like we are in a very narrow range right now between the support and resistance lines. And again, this leads to the volatility getting lower and lower. Not mentioning the fact that actually if you again return to the channel which we drew a few weeks ago, we're actually at the higher part of this channel. And remember this textbook reversal pattern when we had this resistance line and we had this pattern below this resistance line, and now we actually broke upwards, then are playing with this resistance line for a while, and now the price is actually testing it. It tested once and still below that. Again, the more often we will test it, the more likely we will break it upwards. So we're sort of forming this triangle. Eventually we will probably, at least it's more likely that we'll break it upwards. So again, price action looks pretty much bullish in general. One thing which I should mention is also the number of shorts. And if you remember, I made this trend line some time ago when we had it above this trend line in bear market and we went down below this trend line in bull market, but then on Bitfinex it actually broke it, so this trend is not valid anymore on Bitfinex. However, if you'll compare it to the BitMEX, it's really different, so it's basically like mirror-like different. But all this situation is probably because of the tether thing now, so I don't think that we can rely on this ratio anymore. Also, it's interesting that for Ethereum it's basically like opposite, again between Bitfinex and BitMEX. Although usually if you would look at the number of shorts, like 30,000, and number of longs, or again on Bitfinex is like 18,000, this is the perfect situation to the short squeeze. And then in regular case I would say that's very likely that we'll see this short squeeze happen really soon. However, right now I wouldn't really rely on this data. Okay guys, let's see how the price will react with these support and resistances. And again, so far things look at least not bearish, sort of neutral to bullish to me. I hope that it was useful. Thank you for watching.